Well, I think life generally for people that came from the colonies was quite bleak, uh, because it didn't matter what qualifications you had, didn't matter what skills you had. You were still given the jobs that nobody else would do. So, I mean, my father was a businessman before he left Pakistan. Um, and when he came here, he started working in a foundry in the steelworks.
We didn't find it strange that we didn't have separate rooms or we didn't have our own whatever we call private spaces. So it didn't really matter the fact that lots of us were put into a room together and we were sleeping in, in the beds. What was strange was there were shifts on who went into beds, who slept in which bed. That was a bit odd.
My father had bought a house, and in the house there was a Sikh family, and so between the Sikh family and ourselves, we were sharing the house. I was there in Pakistan when the war between India and Pakistan took place, and the hills surrounding the village suddenly had these big anti-aircraft guns because our village was very close to an oil refinery, and the oil refinery got painted. So there's a lot of nationalism and patriotism, that I grew up in. And so when I arrived in England, I just couldn't understand why my father was staying with Indians and Sikhs. Why this family, who I was grown up to believe that these were the people going to deny our existence and we were at war with, was staying at my family. So I remember having a fight, in fact, with a young Sikh boy.
In Bradford, we didn't cook like we used to cook in Pakistan. There were no women. That was the first very strange feeling. They were all men. And, we had rats in the cellar. It was, we cooked once. If you made tea, you didn't make tea in a cup, you made it in a great big pot. And you drank it until it finished. And it was, the food was cooked and it had to be finished. It was just very, very large amounts of food. And we were all very poor, so everybody who was working, they weren't just working for themselves. They all had lots of people to support in Pakistan.